Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something I know a lot of you think about. Really properly getting fluent in English. It can feel like this huge mountain to climb, can it? You're motivated, you want to improve, but then, bam, you're faced with like a million resources.
Oh, yeah. Grammar books, apps, podcasts.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Exactly. And it's so easy to feel like you're just spinning your wheels, not actually moving forward. Maybe you've tried a bit of this, a bit of that.
Definitely dabbling.
Well, here's an idea that really stood out to me from this English and comfort discussion we looked at.
Okay.
It's that real fluency. It doesn't really come from these massive, intense study sessions.
Right. Not about cramming.
No. It's more about the small things, the consistent stuff you do every single day. Habits, basically.
Little by little.
Yeah, habits that actually make a difference over time. So our goal today is pretty simple. We're going to unpack 5 daily habits for boosting your English, pulled straight from their discussion.
Nice. Practical stuff.
Totally practical. No complex theories, no added stress, just everyday actions. We're talking reading, listening, speaking, immersion.
Surrounding yourself with it.
Exactly. And writing, all daily.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in. First up, reading.
Reading in English every day. Yeah, what's interesting is how manageable they make it sound. They suggest starting with just like 30 minutes.
Only 30 minutes. That feels doable.
Right. It kind of cuts through that instant, oh, I don't have time excuse.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And their point about maybe swapping 30 minutes of, scrolling on your phone for reading, that's really concrete.
That hits home.
Well, if you think about building habits, starting small, and fitting it into what you already do, that's key.
Makes sense. And what about what to read? They mentioned that too, right?
Oh, yeah. Crucial point. They suggest news articles, short stories, even kids' books.
Okay, so not diving straight into like Shakespeare or something.
Exactly. Avoid that frustration of hitting a wall with something way too hard. It's like trying to sprint a marathon on day one. Just doesn't work.
Right. And it's that consistency, that regular exposure that you mentioned, that seems really central.
Definitely.
It's not about one huge reading binge and then nothing for weeks. It's that steady, daily drip of language. And here's something I found really interesting. The idea of reading aloud.
Yes.
Now, I get it. Some people might feel a bit weird doing that. But the way they explain why it's helpful, it makes a lot of sense.
It does, because just reading silently is good, obviously.
Sure.
But actually saying the words out loud, it fires up different connections in your brain.
Okay.
It helps you feel the pronunciation, the rhythm, and just getting comfortable hearing yourself speak English.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And they suggested a method, like read silently first.
Yeah, read it silently to understand, then read it aloud. Repeat if you want. Seems like a pretty gentle way to start. Have you found that works well for learners?
Oh, absolutely. If you think about how we learned our first language, right? Seeing the word, saying it, hearing it, that whole loop is fundamental.
That auditory feedback.
Exactly. It's so important. When you hear yourself, you notice things about your pronunciation, maybe little errors. In a way, silent reading just can't deliver.
Right. You become your own first listener, in a way.
Yeah. Plus, as they pointed out, reading just naturally exposes you to new words and phrases in context.
Which is how we learn best, isn't it?
Totally. It's fascinating how words and grammar can just sort of embed themselves. You're not making flashcards, you're just seeing them used.
They just stick, as they put it. It feels much more natural and definitely more sustainable than rote memorization.
Okay, great. Let's move on to habit number 2 then. Listening to English every day.
Right. Listening.
Again, the key seems to be making it routine, part of your day. They suggest podcasts, audiobooks, stories.
Basically anything you actually enjoy.
Yeah, that's crucial, isn't it? If it feels like a chore, you won't stick with it.
Exactly.
But they also ask a really good question for everyone listening. Are you really listening? Properly tuning in?
The active versus passive thing.
Yeah. Or is it just kind of a background noise while you're doing something else, like washing up or driving?
Which, isn't bad in itself. That passive exposure still helps with rhythm and flow.
Familiarity.
But if you actually want to improve your understanding, the discussion really hammered home the need for focused, active listening. What does that active listening look like for you?
Well, that distinction is huge. Passive listening is like letting the sound wash over you. Creates familiarity, like you said. But active listening, that demands your attention. You're consciously trying to pick out words, understand the meaning, notice sentence structures.
Really engaging with it.
Exactly. And the English in Comfort folks rightly highlight how valuable it is to listen to natural, everyday chat.
The stuff you don't get in textbooks.
Right. Real English with different accents, slang, people maybe mumbling a bit.
All that messy, real-world stuff.
Yeah. Which is essential for understanding English as it's actually spoken.
They even shared that story, didn't they? About struggling with a British sitcom because the accents were strong.
Yes. So relatable. I think loads of learners have had that experience.
Oh, like definitely.
It really shows that classroom English can be quite different from the English you hear out and about.
For sure. And their advice on finding your level is spot on.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, if listening at native speed is just too much, too overwhelming, don't be afraid to use subtitles.
Okay. Or slow the audio down.
Exactly. Find that sweet spot. You want to push yourself a bit, expand your understanding, but not get so lost that you just give up.
Makes sense. Find the challenge zone, not the panic zone.
Precisely. And the idea of replaying stuff, listening again, so valuable.
Oh, yeah.
That experience they mention, only getting, say, 30% of a podcast first time round, but then understanding much more on the second or third listen, that perfectly shows how our brains work with language.
It takes time to process it.
It really does. Those connections need time to form. Repetition, especially focused repetition, helps massively.
And again, it comes back to consistency, doesn't it?
Every time. Daily consistency. Even just 15 minutes of focused listening each day adds up hugely over time.
Build the habit, not just random bursts of effort.
That's the core message.
Okay, habit number 3. Speaking every day. Now this is often the scary one, I think.
Yeah.
Makes people clam up.
Yeah, the self-consciousness hurdle. It's real.
But the discussion tackled it head on. They basically said, hey, you don't need a practice partner to get started.
Which is pretty encouraging, right? Takes some pressure off.
Totally. They suggest just talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Or reading aloud, which ties back nicely to habit 1.
Mm-hmm. And even recording your voice.
Recording yourself. Ooh, okay. What are the benefits of doing these solo things?
Well, that fear of making mistakes, looking silly, it stops so many people from even trying to speak. But like the English and Comfort guys said, you're not performing, you're just training. Like practicing scales on a piano before a concert.
Good analogy.
Speaking to yourself, even if it feels weird at first, it's a safe zone. You can experiment, try out phrases, work on fluency with zero judgment.
Okay, a private practice space.
Exactly. And recording yourself, okay, listening back can be a bit cringy initially.
I can imagine.
But it gives you incredibly useful feedback. You hear things objectively, maybe pronunciation bits or awkward pauses that you just don't notice while you're talking.
Right, you get that distance. Yeah. And while they push the solo practice, they do still mention partners.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you feel ready, having a practice partner, joining a language group, using chat apps, that's all great too.
But I really liked the less intimidating starting points they suggested.
Like what?
Just getting your mouth moving with English. Like reading your text messages out loud.
Oh, interesting. Simple.
Or just describing what you're doing while you do it. Narrating your cooking or tidying up or whatever.
Running commentary.
Yeah, it makes speaking feel less like this big, scary, formal thing.
And more just part of your day.
Exactly. It lowers that barrier, makes it feel more natural.
For sure. It's all about starting small, low stakes.
Yeah.
You build confidence gradually, and like they said, the more you do it, the less awkward it feels.
It becomes normal.
Yeah, it creates a positive feedback loop. Do it more, feels easier, do it more.
Got it. All right, next up is habit 4, immersion.
The big one.
Immersion, basically turning your everyday world into an English zone.
Yeah, making it unavoidable almost.
It's about making English just there all the time, even when you're not actively studying. They had some really practical tips like switching your TV shows, movies, news, all to English. What's the logic behind that constant exposure?
Well, what's really cool about immersion is you're creating this like subconscious learning space.
Okay.
It goes beyond sitting down to study. It's about soaking up the language while you just live your life.
Right, absorbing it.
Yeah. And the English and Comfort team suggested easy wins, like changing your phone language settings.
Oh, yeah, that's simple.
Or your social media feeds, following English-speaking creators online. It's subtle, but it massively increases your exposure without really demanding extra time. You just make English the default setting for your life.
They use that phrase, tricking your brain into learning naturally. I like that.
Yeah, it's a nice way to put it. And the tip about using English subtitles while watching stuff, so clever.
Why is that?
Because you're hitting two birds with one stone. You're boosting your listening skills and your reading skills simultaneously.
Man, double whammy. Good deal.
Absolutely. And their advice to maybe start easier makes sense too.
How so?
Like maybe begin with documentaries or slower dramas where people speak more clearly.
Right. Before tackling, say, a super fast-paced comedy with loads of slang.
Exactly. Gradually ramp up the difficulty as your understanding grows. The whole point of immersion really is just getting used to how English actually sounds in real life.
The nuances, the idioms.
All the informal bits you won't find in a grammar book.
Makes total sense.
Mm.
Okay, and that brings us to the final habit. Number 5. Writing in English every day.
Daily writing.
Now, they were quick to say, this doesn't mean you suddenly have to write, like, 5-paragraph essays every night.
Phew, that's a relief.
Right. Instead, they suggest something much simpler. Keep a journal.
Okay, journaling.
Yeah, just jotting down a few sentences.
Yeah.
What you did, how you feel, maybe thoughts about your language learning. What's the benefit there?
Well, the beauty of journaling is it's simple and it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really low-pressure way to actively use the language. You're forming your own thoughts in English.
Right. Producing language, not just consuming it.
Exactly. And as the discussion highlighted, looking back through old entries can be incredibly motivating.
Oh, yes.
You actually see your progress. Tangible proof, maybe fewer mistakes over time, using better words, expressing yourself more clearly.
Visual confirmation that you're getting better. That's powerful.
It really is. And I loved their point about looking up words you don't know as you write.
Yeah. Why is that better?
Because you need that word for something you want to say. It's immediately relevant. You're not just memorizing a random list, you're learning it in a personally meaningful context.
Context is king.
Always. It sticks so much better. They also suggested using the journal to collect new words or phrases you hear elsewhere, movies, podcasts.
Kind of like a personalized dictionary.
Exactly. It connects everything together. It makes growing your vocabulary feel like a natural part of interacting with English, not some separate, boring task.
Okay, I really like that. So we've got the 5 habits. Read, listen, speak, immerse, write. But the million-dollar question, as they rightly asked, how do you make them stick?
Ah, yes. Implementation. The tricky part.
We all start with the good intentions, don't we? But then life happens. Busy schedules. Habits just fall away.
Very common.
So what practical advice did they give for actually embedding these into our routines?
Yeah, this is where it gets really useful. They offered great strategies for weaving these habits into your existing day.
Okay, so not adding more tasks.
Ideally not. It's about finding natural overlaps. Look at your typical day. Where are the opportunities?
Like,
Listening to a podcast while you cook or commute. That's easy. Practicing speaking by describing stuff while you get ready or walk the dog.
right, using dead time.
Exactly. Watching shows in English. Just change the language setting on what you'd watch anyway. These don't have to be extra things, they just slot in.
Finding those seamless connections, I like that. It makes it feel less overwhelming.
Totally. It's key. These habits shouldn't feel like isolated chores. They should layer onto your existing routines.
And they also said it's okay to experiment, right? Find what clicks for you.
Absolutely. Maybe reading clicks instantly for you, or maybe listening feels easier to start with. That's fine. Some habits might feel more natural to adopt than others.
It's not one size fits all.
Not at all. The crucial thing, the absolute foundation, is consistency.
There's again.
Always.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a tiny bit each day. That regular, ongoing contact with English is what fuels real, long-term improvement.
It's not about perfection on day one.
Nope. It's just about showing up.
Yeah.
Making English a normal, comfortable part of your everyday life, however that looks for you.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. From our deep dive into that English and comfort discussion, we've pulled out 5 pretty straightforward daily habits to genuinely boost your English fluency.
Reading,
Listening,
speaking,
immersion,
and writing.
and the big takeaway, the thread running through it all, is that real fluency isn't built in those rare, intense study marathons.
No, it's built through those consistent, small, everyday actions that become second nature.
Habits.
Exactly, habits. And maybe something for you listening right now to think about is this.
Huh?
Out of those 5 habits, Which one feels like it could slide into your day most easily, starting today even? And what's just one tiny, almost ridiculously small step you could take right now, or maybe tomorrow morning, to start building that consistency?
Like really small.
Yeah, like reading one news headline aloud, or
Yeah.
switching your phone language for just an hour. Because that tiny seed, that's honestly where the real growth starts.
That's a great thought to end on. Find the easiest first step. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
We really hope these ideas feel practical and maybe even a bit exciting. Now go make English a comfy, natural part of your everyday.